Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to David's Den. I am David, and I make videos here on YouTube about Stephen King novels, his short stories, and if there was one, their adaptations into film or television series or mini-series. So, I just realized that Chapelwaite aired on Epix a few weeks late, maybe, because you can catch 4 episodes if you have their channel with like Amazon Prime or something. The first 2 episodes on Prime for free, by the way, and no, I'm not getting paid to say that, but you should check it out. And if you like it, then you can get a cheap subscription. That's what I did, and not just because I'm making these videos, where what I do is adaptation correlations between the novel, the original story, and the film adaptation, where I look at it and I say, how successful was this adaptation in regards to theme and tone as well as plot. And Chapelwaite is based on the short story Jerusalem's Lot, which appeared in the 1978 collection of short stories by Stephen King called Night Shift. And Jerusalem's Lot is actually a prequel to the 1976 novel Salem's Lot, which of course was turned into miniseries both in 1979 starring David Soul and James Mason, and again starring Donald Sutherland and Rob Lowe in 2004, I believe it was. So let's just go ahead and say that for the episode of Chapelwaite that we're on, and any episodes that have come before, which won't now because we're on the pilot, for both versions of Salem's Lot, the film, and for the book Salem's Lot, as well as the story Jerusalem's Lot, spoilers ahead. I'm really just going to examine how the story lines up with Chapelwaite in a series that I'm going to call the top 10, insert whatever expletive fits for that moment, moments of Chapelwaite. I'm going to be talking about the series itself as an audience member enjoying it, and about how it lines up with the short story Jerusalem's Lot. So I will not be giving away a lot of spoilers because Chapelwaite is most assuredly not adapted from the short story, but based on the short story. It's a 50-page story that really revolves around Charles Boone and his manservant Cal. Well, so far Cal doesn't exist in Chapelwaite at all. Charles Boone has 3 children, and he is healthy and an able-bodied, wise thinker rather than an ill person who needs an attendant with him. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the top 10 moments from Chapelwaite, episode 1, in the order that they appear in the episode, with a bonus 11th moment, just because I have to tell you guys, I have to, that opening sequence. It has nothing to do with the plot. I mean, obviously it reflects the show, it reflects the plot, but in terms of what I want to talk about today, it has nothing to do with it. It's just really fantastic, you guys. The way that we go through the earth and we get the montage of the ship and the graves and the church and the house, and then at the very end, and this is the real moment, when we start going into the walls of the house and we get this discordant violin string, and suddenly a shadowy figure appears that looks very reminiscent of the makeup and the design for Kurt Barlow in Salem's Lot, the 1979 miniseries. So I'm just saying, and vampires were not as huge a thing in Jerusalem's Lot. They actually only exist if you understand and pick up on it, having read Salem's Lot already. So that's a lot of lots, and let's get into our moments. Number 1, the entire cold open. We get Robert Boone going insane, digging a grave, choking his wife, and the whole time, and what I really love, you have to pay attention, it's really faint, when he's knocking in the door and we see little Charles afraid in his room, he's saying, I want the boy. Wait, I wrote it down. He said, he literally says, I need the boy. So we know that something is going on down the line, and this episode is titled Blood Calls Blood. So we're already getting this connection of a madness and something with the bloodline moving through the generations, or at least attacking the generations, which is a theme in a lot of Stephen King's early work. I talk about it a lot in The Shining. We definitely see it with the mother in Carrie. There's a lot of these kind of legacy stories in Stephen King's early work. But it definitely seems like the idea of madness running in a family and going through generations is going to be a much larger theme in the TV series than it was in the short story Jerusalem's Lot. I especially love at the very end when Rebecca is writing and we've just seen the crazy scene with the Axeman. And in between the scene with the Axeman and the worm bath, she literally writes, "What drove this family to madness?" So I think that this cold open just does a fantastic job. And by the way, woof, Sebastian Lebel. I know I was supposed to be frightened and worried for the child in that moment, but when you finish killing your wife and you turn without that shirt on and that beefy muscle body and you just go, whoo, I said, whoo, this daddy needs a break. Yeah. Hey, Sebastian Lebel. I'm single. And the worm. Oh my God. Oh, the worm is coming, right? What the hell does that mean? Now that is lifted directly from Jerusalem's Lot. And that's kind of more what the story in Jerusalem's Lot is about. Ultimately, we find out what the worm is by the end of the story. So I don't want to give away anything having to do with the worm, because right now it's just, we have this, the worm is coming at the beginning, and we have the worm bath hallucination for Charles at the end. So I don't want to give away anything about the worm. That is much more in keeping with the story of Jerusalem's Lot than the sick girl that you'll know what's going on with her if you read or watched either of the miniseries of Salem's Lot. Yeah, so that idea of the Salem's Lot main evil force is very much a, it takes a back burner in the short story Jerusalem's Lot to this story about whatever the hell the worm is. So, 2. Maya Boone dies at sea. Just like in the short story Jerusalem's Lot, Charles Boone in Chapelwaite is a widower. The difference between the two stories is that now in Chapelwaite he has 3 children who happen to be of a mixed race, Polynesian and Caucasian ancestry in their parents. And that's going to become important later. Right now, it's not. And I'm going to be honest with you, I was kind of hoping in this day and age that they just let actors who happen to be good play the parts regardless of historical accuracy with race. But I'm not so upset with this. It seems like they're handling it delicately. It's becoming a plot point without becoming the main point of the story. So we're going to touch on that again in a little bit with some other themes. But right now, when she dies, everything is set up for us. It's a wonderful, concise setup, and we're able to just live in the story because we know that his cousin Stephen has died. We know that a house was bequeathed to him. We know that it's an estate with the name of Chapelwaite. We learn that Charles Boone has 3 children and that he's getting off of the ocean and back onto dry land in order to care for his family. That is his primary goal. So this is one of the biggest differences between the short story and the TV series. The fact that he has a family. 3, Mrs. Clarus. Oh, Gabriella Rose. She was so good. She has like 2 minutes in this scene, maybe a little more, and she took my breath away as an actress. You were fantastic. I looked on IMDb and you're only in 2 episodes, and I wish that we got more of you. But that is in keeping with the short story. Now in the short story, she's a cleaning woman who would come 2 times a week for a while to clean at the house, and that's how she knows them, and she comes back with a cleaning crew, which Mrs. Clarus in the TV series does as well. But in this instance, she was a governess. I do think that that's a nice change because it lets us have kind of an in to the family history that makes a little more sense than just somebody who heard rumors in the town. That she lived in the house and she helped raise Stephen, Charles's cousin. But we get a few other key points of information during the scene with Mrs. Clarus, which is why it makes an oh shit moment. First, we learned that Marcella has died, Stephen's daughter, and in the book it's his sister. Anyway, we learned that Marcella died because there's something going on down in the basement. So we're setting up that suspense of something is in the basement and something dangerous. Then we get that Stephen died of grief after his daughter passed away. It's revealed later that he hanged himself, died of grief. In the short story, he actually fell off the cliff, went over the rocks into the ocean. So, you know, I don't know which is more painful. Lastly, in this scene, we get the whippoorwills. So whippoorwill, culturally, urban legends, old wives' tales, as well as in literature, is a bad omen. Sometimes it's equated with death, similar to a raven or a crow. So we get these whippoorwills called out. I've never seen them in the day, right? And it's just a really wonderful note because we hear whippoorwills almost constantly through the rest of the episode. Great job. I love the way that they set everything up in the first few minutes for this series. 4, the cellar. What the hell is going on in that cellar? The tub with the restraints, the worms coming through the ceiling. There is more to this cellar. Now, there was stuff in the basement in the short story, but nothing like this. You guys, holy f***. 5, Tane finding the gravestones. Of course these people want to be buried in their home. They're proud of it, I think is the line. It sets up there's something creepy, there's something else going on under the ground, under the surface that we don't know, which kind of echoes Loa's very first words in the entire episode toward the very end when she says, there's something in this house you're hiding from us. So I like the symbolism. It's setting something up to come back. Right, what this is doing as a pilot is planting the seeds that are going to grow over the next 9 episodes. And if it grows as successfully as they're setting it up, I think it's going to be wonderful. And I don't know if you noticed, but again, during the daytime, the whippoorwills were calling when he found the grave. There are those whippoorwills again. 6, they probably fled the reservation. Oh, dear. Okay, here we go. We have to talk about the race issue. Like I said, I was really hoping that it wasn't going to be an issue, but I think they treat it with respect. This family, these children, come from a Polynesian heritage. They didn't come off of any sort of reservation. Oh. They're being mistaken for mainland Native American tribe. And I think it's so heartbreaking. Tane, was he talking about us, Daddy? Yes, because some people want to make you feel bad for being different. And that's really what it boils down to. And I love that they addressed this. So at first I thought, we've addressed it, we can move on. There's going to be a little animosity in the town toward these children. Okay, that's historically accurate since we cast people of color. But then we get the scene in the sawmill later with Abel. Abel is a black man who works on the sawmill owned by the Boones. We find out that he's not paid as much as the white workers, even after they all gave themselves a raise. So we're setting up the white versus black. We've set up the white versus the Polynesian. It really comes down to a theme of progress. So remember that. We're going to get there very soon. I promise. And this is something that was key in Jerusalem's Lot, the short story, even if the racial element was not present in the short story. 7, I didn't know women could go to college. Honor has this amazing line when Rebecca Morgan comes in, and I want to take a minute here. I'm going to use this scene, this oh shit moment, as a breaking off point to talk about Rebecca Morgan and the theme of progress that I've hinted at a little bit, because if I'm going to talk about it, I better talk about it now. So Rebecca Morgan, which is a wonderful stand-in for Stephen King, and I know that Stephen King didn't write this, the Filardi brothers did, but what Stephen King likes to do in his stories is put a stand-in for himself. In Salem's Lot, we saw it with the character of Mark Petrie, someone within the story that has the common sense, that can see what's going on, and is kind of our way in as a reader, right? He is the author's kind of mouthpiece to tell us what we're supposed to think and feel and guide us along the way. Usually this happens to be a writer. In Salem's Lot, we also have the writer. Ben Mears is a writer. In Misery, we have a writer. Right? A lot of his characters, in the latest one, Billy Summers, that I'm reading now, he's starting to write. In the short story Jerusalem's Lot, Cal, Charles Boone's manservant and kind of health attendant, is the mouthpiece for Stephen King. In Chapelwaite, we're giving it to a woman. We're giving it to Rebecca Morgan, who is using the Boone family to write a story for a newspaper. I think that this is a fantastic nod to the original format of the short story, which is written in an epistolary style. Everything comes from letters from Charles Boone to other friends, or Cal's diary entries, or work orders that he's sending asking for supplies to be shipped. So this is how we see the story from inside of it. And this is kind of what Rebecca Morgan is giving us. But she's also giving us a female writer being successful, who has gone to college in 1850. And she's going to show the young children everything that is possible for them, right? She has that adventurous spirit that she says she shares with Tane. Honor's impressed with college. Loa, jury's still out on that, but we don't know much of what Loa's thinking at this point. She hasn't told us. She's kind of been deadpan. But back to the progress. So now we have Rebecca Morgan. We have Abel, who's working at the Sawmill and a self-educated black man. We have a family that is socially progressive in terms of being a multiracial family. We have, what is it that Rebecca actually says about going to church? Wait, I wrote it down. Church is a frequent tool of intimidation and promotes the oppression of women. Right? So we have these socially forward thinkers who are coming together against a town that is mired in puritanical beliefs, in puritanical religion, who believe superstitiously that the Boones are the cause of the illness that's plaguing the town. So we have this amazing setup of progress versus tradition at war with one another. And we're going to talk about that more as we move forward in the episodes, because, spoiler, I actually have gone through all 4 episodes and now I'm making the videos. I kind of binged them last night. What was I saying? Progress versus tradition. In the short story Jerusalem's Lot, we get rumors, which I don't want to get into yet because we don't have them yet for the Chapelwaite, so I don't want to give those things away. But we have these rumors about the Boone family and how everyone goes mad and everyone is insane and how the townspeople despise them based on these rumors that are actually mired in old world beliefs. And if we take it a step further and look at Salem's Lot, which takes place almost 100 years later, 75 years later, something like that. Wait, 1850, 127 years later. You have a novel that Stephen King himself said in the introduction to Salem's Lot, he wanted to view the other end of the telescope from Bram Stoker's novel, Dracula. Because in Dracula, you had progress that could hunt down and kill the vampire and get rid of those old world myths that we disprove in real life. Where Salem's Lot, Stephen King asked, what happens if all these modern inventions actually aid the vampire? Because we refuse to believe in him now and he actually exists. So this is a theme that has gone from Salem's Lot into the prequel that was written of Jerusalem's Lot, and now we're seeing it visually in Chapelwaite, reflecting the time of 2021 that it was being made in. So happy with how this is working out, the theme of progress versus tradition. And before we go anywhere, I just want to say about Rebecca, I really kind of hope that this idea of I'm well-intentioned, but not quite so common sense smart, because she's a very intelligent woman, but hey, I know your mother just died, but let's have a little seance and try to find a spirit that Tane asks if we know them, can we talk to them? Hey, let's send you to church, even though I know the entire town hates you and you'll probably be turned away. So this idea of not thinking before she acts or does or says something, I really hope that this becomes a foil moving forward, because they're setting it up wonderfully to be that. 8. Rats in the walls. Those are some pretty big rats from the sound of it. And I want to use this moment, and I'm talking about the second time that he sees rats in the wall, not the time when Loa is there and listening and looks at him like, Dad, you're fucking nuts. I'm talking where he's going through and turning the lamps off one at a time. Because not only do we get these sounds of the rats or whatever it is that's running in the walls, which, by the way, happens in Jerusalem's Lot. Not telling you any more than that. But listen to the score. Oh my God, this score is fantastic. All the way through, from the opening credit sequence to the fun music as they go into town that turns discordant when the people see them. It works so well. Not only is it beautiful, but it works so well to enhance and support the story that we're watching. Bravo. So I really want to say, oh shit, for the rat moment, not only about the plot point for the rat, but really, really about that score. Bravo. 9, the Sawmill. Okay, here we go. The Sawmill really does a lot to cement the animosity that the town has toward the Boones. We're still not quite sure why. right? We know that it goes back to Stephen and the rest of the family that lived there before Charles and his children arrived. But this idea of we've all given ourselves raises, except for that black man, and we're not doing the work ever since Stephen passed away, right? Isn't that the first thing that Charles says when he walks up? He says, why did you all get raises? Why aren't you working since my brother passed? Brother? Cousin. Since my cousin passed. So we really get this idea of the traditional kind of, if you want to go this far in the theme, the white privilege. I think that it can be read into the story the way that we're seeing it, but I don't think that was intentional. I don't think that's supposed to be the main driving force of this. But we've talked about the theme of progress versus tradition, right? And in the Sawmill scene, we see that firsthand between the white workers and Abel, the black worker. He doesn't do the same job, he gets paid less. But then Charles, being progressive and fair and looking out for people in an honest way, gives him a raise for keeping the ledgers, which means that he now makes as much as the white men. So it's this theme is there, and given the discussion that we're having around race in America in 2021, I'm really happy that they didn't just ignore it altogether, that they kept it historically accurate, while also serving to enhance the themes that we saw in the short story of progress versus tradition. Social and intellectual. And industrial, actually, if we want to talk about the Sawmill, but that's getting ahead, so no. 10, they blame Chapelwaite and the Boone family for the illness going around town. Now, we saw the young Mallory girl, Rose is the mother's name. Susan Mallory. Like I said, if you know what's happening regarding Salem's Lot, either read the book or seen the miniseries, you know what's happening to this girl, and it is definitely beefed up. There are no sick people or an illness from the Boone family in Jerusalem's Lot, the short story, but they're bringing more of the Salem's Lot kind of lore to Chapelwaite, and I'm here for it. I love Salem's Lot. You can check out all my other videos. I have a whole series on Salem's Lot, both the novel and the film, the 1979 adaptation. So I'm really happy that they're doing this. That was kind of an moment for me. But what I was getting at is that this illness is only 2 years old. Rebecca says to him, the first people got sick 2 years ago, they died, and since there's been a total of 7 deaths. So if you really want to think logistically about this time period and how slow the mail was, for Charles Boone, a captain out on the ocean, to get a letter after his cousin passed telling him that he's getting this estate, it's probably been at least a year, if not longer. Right? What port did he set down in that letter finally caught up to him? So were they dead, or was whatever's happening starting only 2 years ago? And I'll be honest, I rewatched this to make notes, and I didn't catch that the first time. I thought this was an illness that had been going on. It's only been going on for 2 years. So there's something surrounding the deaths of Charles's family in the past 2 to 3 years that is affecting the illness in town, or at least that's what we're being led to believe. And if you know Salem's Lot, you probably have an idea. And it's a big oh. Hey guys, thank you so much for tuning into David's Den and this very first ever episode reaction for Chapelwaite. I'm going to be doing more of these. I promise they won't be quite so as long or involved after maybe episode 2, because a lot of what I'm doing is comparing Chapelwaite to the short story Jerusalem's Lot. And like I said at the beginning, this is most definitely a based on, not an adapted from. So there are a lot of differences, but there are also a lot of influences from the short story, which gets expanded because we're talking about an entire novel that came after it, technically before, but the story is after. And if you haven't read it, go back to Night Shift. It opens with Jerusalem's Lot, and the story before the last is One for the Road, which takes place after Salem's Lot happens in a town up the road. So I think that's really, really freaking cool. Read it. Just go read it. They're amazing stories. They won't inform Chapelwaite in any way. Maybe Jerusalem's Lot, but it doesn't look like it so far. I keep looking this way because that's where my television is that you can't see. It's not this fake one on the green screen over here. So I'm rambling now, and I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up, guys. I want to make sure you know that the next videos coming up are going to be the final two about The Shining, which is going to be the adaptation correlation for the 1997 miniseries, and a fun facts for behind the scenes on the miniseries. And then we're getting into Night Shift, and the very first story I'm going to be doing a vlog style, kind of filming myself on the way to work after reading on the train. The very first story I'm going to be talking to you about is Jerusalem's Lot, which fits right into Chapelwaite. If you don't want to miss any of that, make sure you hit that subscribe button. There's a link tree down in the description, so you can follow me on my Instagram, my Facebook, my Twitter, all the socials. There's a lot of stuff down there. Check it out. If you're interested in anything, follow me. Please engage. I want to know the kind of content that you guys want me to create, because I want this channel to grow. I'm a huge Stephen King fan. I'm just getting started, and I'm very, very excited. I want you guys to come along with me. See you next time.